What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys for tuning in. Today we're going to uncover the truth around barbering and answer any misconceptions with what we go through. Nowadays there's a lot of things that are misled, might seem a certain way, but I want to uncover the reality of a barber nowadays because things have changed and it isn't how it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, even though I wasn't in the industry at that time, but I've seen the changes and I see where it's heading. So it's important to stay informed and educated on what it's really like. What are the pros and what are the cons? One of the things that I see a lot of people say coming into the barbering industry, when they first start off, they think that I'm gonna be my own boss, I'm gonna be able to charge whatever, work on my own schedule. The truth is we really aren't our own boss the way that we might think we are. We need our clients more than our clients need us. We tend to think that we can do whatever we want and expect our clients to treat us a certain way. Yes, we can pick the days that we want to work, whether it's Tuesday through Saturday, whether it's 7 days a week, whether it's working mainly in the morning or mainly in the evening. That is true. But we also have to take into consideration that with all the perks of having a free schedule, there's a lot of downside to it as well. Us as barbers, we don't get paid time off. So when we go on vacation, when we go out of town for some time, we get paid to cut hair. And if we aren't cutting hair, we aren't getting paid. Obviously nowadays, there's also ways to monetize off of social media and other opportunities, but I'm talking about being a barber and cutting hair. You create your own schedule, which is great, but you also have to understand that you get what you put in. So if you're at a shop 6 hours a day, 5 hours a day, 8 hours, whatever it is, you're not getting paid for all those times, all those hours as you would somewhere else at a regular job or whatever it may be. So we have to take into consideration that until you start getting fully booked is where you start to see the fruits of your work. There's a sacrifice that comes with it. When we are starting off, we're not going to be able to charge $100, $200 for a haircut. We're still in the works. We're still growing as barbers to perfect our craft, to give a good service, to understand hair to a level where we can be the professionals to our clients. Our clients come to us looking for answers. So if, for example, you go to the doctor and you ask them, hey, like this, I have pain on my shoulder, you would expect them to know what they're talking about when it comes to those things. Because you as a professional need to know these things. And maybe you might not know everything, which it happens. I'm not saying you have to know it all, because there's so much information out there to learn. But you have to understand that you're the professional. You're the one that they're coming to for answers. So you constantly need to seek those answers and educate yourself so you can keep that professional image as a barber, knowing what you're doing, knowing what you're talking about, and being trustworthy. It gives the clients confidence in the chair. Yes, we get to create our own schedule, and we also have to keep in mind that when we leave out of town, when we're on vacation, or we're sick, we have to be responsible enough to manage our finances correctly. Because if we're not getting paid time off, we're not getting sick days, we don't get those things. So we have to budget ourselves correctly so that you don't get behind on rent. You're not living what some might call paycheck to paycheck. You're putting that money to the side, saving it correctly, investing it. So when people say that I'm gonna be my own boss, yes, you do manage your own schedule, you do manage your own business, that is correct. But without the clients, your business is nothing. So you need to have clients. Those clients, you need to make sure you're taken care of. Because if we start thinking with our ego and start thinking that my clients need me, I can do whatever, and they'll respect me because I have this amount of followers, I have this, whatever it is. Clients don't have to go to you. Clients have the option to go wherever they want. They go where they want to give their business to. So if you let it get to your head, clients will leave. Clients will find someone else. If you're not managing yourself properly, you're not being responsible, if you're only working whenever you want, this business isn't I think a lot of people think that getting into the industry and becoming a barber is just easy. I get to work my own schedule. I get to do what I want. I can come in at 12 o'clock. I can come in. I could leave at 3 p.m., whatever it is. Like, that is all true, but, you know, you get what you work for. So if you're not putting in any work, you're not coming in early, you're not leaving late, you're not trying to build your clientele, then your business isn't going to be sustainable. You control those outcomes. If you want to go build a clientele, if you want to stay busier, take a look at what your daily habits are. Are you constantly looking for those clients? Are you constantly putting yourself in a position to build clientele, to get better in your craft? You need to make sure that you're doing those things even when you're not busy. So if you have a gap in your schedule, you should be using that time to post on social media. You should be using that time to hand out business cards. I know nowadays business cards aren't as popular, but they're still effective. Maybe it doesn't have to be a physical card. It could be an exchange via the grocery store. You could be at the gas station. You could be speaking to people and spark up a conversation and, you know, put yourself in a position where you can gain a client right there. We get discouraged, but there's enough for everyone to eat. So we can't complain and say that I'm not busy because of the shop owner, or I'm not busy because of this. You dictate those outcomes based off of what your habits are, based off of what you're doing in the shop. Take a look, reflect on the last 3 months and how you did. And maybe you might reflect on it and tell yourself, like, I have been doing what I should be doing. But we have to be patient at the same time. Things take time to build. And maybe we could push ourselves harder. That could be the case. Or maybe we just have to be patient. And it's like when you go to the gym, you could go for a week straight. That doesn't mean you're going to see the biggest improvement. But if you consistently go for the next 6 months, year, you're going to notice a difference, especially if you stay consistent, you do it intentionally, and you're doing your exercises the right way. Because you could go to the gym for 6 months straight and not see any progress, but maybe it's because you're actually not even lifting heavy enough, or you're just going through the motions and you're not really pushing your body to that limit. So the same goes with building your business. Is like, you could go through the motions, but what extra steps are you taking to be able to take it to the next level and keep constantly building and growing and growing? And so we get this idea that this is going to come easy, and it's not. Nowadays, barbers have the potential to make 6 figures. And some people see that and get motivated by it, but they also have to think what's going on. What is it that a 6-figure barber is doing versus someone that is making less? Yes, you could be motivated by the money, but if you're only motivated by the money, then that means you wouldn't care about the client or your haircut. And all you're caring about is getting a client in and out, and you're not retaining clients. You're rushing them, so you're giving them shit haircuts, and they end up not coming back to you. So now you have to figure out, what is it that I can improve on? I do agree. I'm not saying you have to take an hour and a half on your haircuts, but if you are one of those barbers that takes longer, then maybe you just have to work longer hours then. I'm just using 6 figures as an example, but if your goal is to make 6 figures as a barber, you set the tone based off of what you want. So if you want to be an hour appointment barber and make 6 figures, then just do the math. I mean, you would have to make a certain amount a day. How many hours, or how many clients do you have to see in that day, assuming that you do 1 hour appointments, to hit that mark? Or if obviously you're charging less, but you're focused more on quantity, then how many of those haircuts do you have to do, and how long of a day do you have to meet that mark? So set yourself a target so that you are aiming at something. Because if you're kind of just going through the motions and you don't have an end goal, then you're not going to see the growth because you're just going through the motions, if that makes sense. So yes, we have our own schedule. Yes, we are the owner of our own business, but we have to take all those things with responsibility. Manage your schedule correctly. Be a good business owner. Budget yourself when it comes to your money. Another thing is we're self-employed, so we don't have a 401k. We don't have a set retirement plan for us when we get into the field. So we have to also be responsible when it comes to those things. So manage your finances. And if you need help with that, you can hire an accountant, someone that's going to help you with managing your money, someone that's going to help you with putting that money aside for your taxes, because because you're going to have to pay taxes, especially in the future if you want to buy a home, you want to get loans from the bank on a car or whatever it is. These banks are going to want to see proof of income. And if on your taxes you're only showing 10,000, 15,000 a year, they're not going to give you that loan. So you have to be smart with what your goal is and your finances, and be responsible enough to put that money to the side. I know people that have like certain jobs, they get the taxes deducted from their paycheck. We have to do the same, but manually. We have to put that money to the side and allow it to be used for taxes only, or whatever it is. Another thing is when you're starting to work at a barbershop, more than likely the main two things that you're gonna have to focus on is either you're gonna be a commission barber or you're gonna be a booth rent barber. The difference between the two is the booth rent, obviously they pay a certain amount to the owner for that booth a week, and they keep all their profits. Or you have commission where you don't pay a booth rent, you don't pay any fees. The only fees that you do pay is a percentage taken out for every haircut. So let's just say, for example, if you're a commission barber and you're charging $40 per haircut, and the shop owner is putting you on commission, and let's just say it's 50-50, then you're only making $20 for every haircut that you do, and the shop owner keeps the other 20. Normally, when you are starting off and building a clientele, the best route would probably be commission, since you don't have a steady clientele coming in to pay for that booth rent. And then you can work your way up and become booth rent, and then from there, obviously do whatever you want. But normally, you start off, do commission, work into booth rent once you start making enough, and you have a more steady pace. I mean, yeah, you could also jump into booth rent straight away, but it's going to be a little harder because you don't have a clientele. And unless you, maybe you already do, and maybe you have a few that you could be like, okay, well, I'm gonna put myself in that position to pay the booth rent because I know I'll exceed this amount, then by all means do that. But normally it would make more sense to go commission, build a clientele, keep building, and then go booth rent, and then you can progress from there. So we need to take good care of our mental health, we need to take care of ourselves, take care of our mind, because if we don't take care of those things, we're not going to be able to provide to our clients. If we're having a bad day, the client shouldn't have to suffer for you not taking care of yourself and not putting yourself in that position to where you're thinking clear. Of course, we have bad days, and I'm not saying that we always have to be perfect as we're providing a service, but we can't let it consume us. At the end of the day, people are coming to us. We have to take care of ourselves mentally, physically, and make sure that we're fueling ourselves back up so that we're able to provide for people. It's like a car. One of my mentors, like Josh O.P. talks about, it's like you're a car. You yourself are the car, and you constantly have to go to the gas station to fuel up your car, because if you're not, then you're not going to be able to drive the car to your destination. You need to constantly reset yourself and fuel yourself to be able to feel good, because if we constantly keep ignoring the problems and don't take care of ourselves, then it's like we're slowly starting to just make the problem worse and starting to decline. So take care of yourself and take care of your mind. And then to that point, take care of your body physically. Like, you should exercise, and we tend to forget that we're barbers and we cut hair and we work with our hands and our entire body. Like, we're standing all the time. We need to make sure that we're stretching our hands. We need to make sure that we're taking proper care of our body. You know, we're gonna get tense up sometimes, and maybe our shoulders might hurt, our back might hurt, but you need to take care of those things immediately, because we only have one body, and if we're not taking care of it, then we're not gonna be able to provide the services that we do. For example, if you hurt your right arm and it gets to the point where you can't even use it for 3 months, how are you gonna be able to cut hair with that hand? You're gonna have to either take 3 months off, or you're gonna have to be able to learn how to cut hair with your left hand. So we need to take care of our bodies because we're using it all the time. Sometimes as barbers, we forget that the chair moves left and right and up and down. So if a client needs to move his head this way to make yourself in a comfortable position, do that. You shouldn't have to slouch because they're in an awkward position or they don't want to put their head up. They're in the chair for 30 minutes to an hour max. you're gonna be there for 8 hours plus. So if you're not taking care of your body and you're constantly slouching, and you imagine you do that for 8 hours a day, let's just say 5 days a week, and you do that for 10 years straight, your body's just gonna deteriorate. Your back's gonna start hurting, your hands are gonna get really tight, you can develop carpal tunnel. It's a thing that happens to a lot of barbers and stylists nowadays. So we need to take care of those things, because if not, we're not gonna be able to do this a long term. And maybe your goal isn't to cut hair forever, but at least take care of your body. Like, even if you don't plan on cutting hair 15 years from now, like, you should still take care of your body. You still want to use your hands, your back, your whatever it is. Just because you don't plan on cutting doesn't mean you shouldn't take care of your body. Those things are going to be really important to you. We only have one body. We need to take care of it. So take care of your body, stretch. Go to the chiropractor if you need to. Go stretch. I already said stretch. Go exercise, go to the gym. Go get massages if you have to. Or cupping, scraping. I know that I've done that before, and it helps a lot with blood flow. So take care of your body. It's super important. Another thing when it comes to getting in the industry, I've noticed that people think that we can skip steps. So like right out of barbering school, we think we'll just be able to make it to cut up celebrities or whatever it may be. There's a process to these things. You know, it's like, for example, like if you want to play in the major leagues, like for baseball, you have to obviously start playing as a kid, and you start going into little league, you start doing travel ball, you play in high school, and then you play in college, and then you go to the minor league and then the major league. And so there's steps to it. It's not necessarily a faster way to it. Obviously there are rare scenarios where, for example, people in high school could get drafted and straight to a team and not have to play in college, but those are rare cases, and I'm talking about those slight little adjustments. Obviously there are certain things that you don't have to do, but you can't make those huge jumps to avoid doing certain things that will lead to consequences later down the line. So for example, you should get licensed. You should, when you first start cutting hair, you're gonna learn how to cut hair and learn how to be a better communicator, and then you're gonna go get your barber license or cosmetology, whatever it is. And then obviously you're gonna work in a shop and charge what the market price is. And then from there you start to build. And then from there you can start to take a different path or whatever it is. If you wanna go the route of charging a lot for a haircut and that be your thing, so be it. Or it could be you don't even cut hair full time and you start teaching, so be it. Like, you go in that route and you put yourself in that position, but there's no just going from A to Z. You could go from A to B to maybe B to D and D to E, F, or it could be A, B, C, D, F, I, J, or whatever, but it's not at A to X. You don't make those huge jumps because you don't get to learn about everything in between. We can learn all these things from YouTube, other people's experiences, talking to different mentors. But at the end of the day, we're gonna go through our own experiences. Like, I could give you the best advice on cutting hair, but you're still gonna mess up sometimes. So like, no one's perfect, and we're gonna go through these things and learn on ourselves. But part of failure is a learning experience. So if we're not making mistakes, we're never gonna learn. We're never gonna, obviously, you don't make mistakes intentionally, but that's how we're gonna learn. That's how we're gonna grow as people. That's how we're gonna grow as barbers, how we're gonna be able to get better with what we're doing. So all that into consideration, and know that you have to be patient in this industry. You can't jump the gun and assume that everything's gonna happen within the first year or two. Like, especially if you're seeing something long term, this will take time to build. I mean, not even in this industry, like, think about like some of the biggest companies. Like Amazon wasn't built in a year or two. Like, it took time for it to get to the point where it's at now. So don't get discouraged because you don't see the progress happening immediately. It's like when you hit the gym, you don't see the progress in the first week or two. You need to constantly keep going and push yourself, and you'll be able to see the progress. Try not to skip the steps and push yourself to those limits. We got to take this barbering thing seriously. This is a profession. I know a lot of people don't take some of these things seriously, but we have to carry ourselves professionally so that people can take us seriously, know that this is a career. This isn't just a side hustle anymore. Back then, it used to kind of be looked down upon, and as the community is growing, we're starting to see that we can build a career out of this. We have to be professional. We have to take it seriously. That's going to conclude the rest of this video. I want to thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you learned something from this video. Comment what other type of videos you want to see in the future. What is it that you're wanting to learn about? What is it that you struggle with as a barber? Again, thank you for watching. I appreciate all you guys, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.